Now we're back. I don't know why that keeps happening to me, dude. I got to figure that out. But we're back on Inside the Diamond, episode number 16 here on YouTube, X, wherever you're tuning in from. Already over 100 people in the stream. So we appreciate you guys tuning in on this Sunday night. All-star rosters have been fully revealed, Ethan. We got to talk about the reserves, the pitchers, and everything else. Penn is here. Indeed, Penn is here.
We're here, baby.
But we haven't been live since before 4th of July weekend, Ethan. We haven't really talked much since then either, man. But it's been a long weekend. I'm sure.
What's up, Nick?
But I'm sure you could easily tell that on our face. It's been a long weekend. But been a good one for you, Ethan, or not really?
Yeah, I mean, busy 4th of July at work, but off today, off tomorrow. So catch up on some baseball stuff and some work, and probably have another show tomorrow. So nothing better than to talk about some Slate today, some all-star selections, some all-star reserves that we were really talking about last show. But just happy to be here with you, man.
Yeah, no, it's great to be back, and it's great to just get it in when we need to, because a lot of news to talk about. And when we were talking about maybe going live today, what's up, Nate? But we weren't really sure if we wanted to go live, just because we were both feeling so exhausted. I worked earlier. You had obviously work on the 4th, but we got to talk about the All-Star reserves. It's gonna be a really good one, by the way that it looks. And there are some guys that got left out, I think, that we wanna briefly touch on. But I don't know. You want to start with AL or NL first?
You want to start with the guys being left out, or do you want to go over just kind of the general guys that made it first?
I think just kind of go over the general people who made it, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, Jason Adam, reliever for the Padres, Rays legend. Trade's not looking the best right now, but Jason Adam, great selection for the All-Star game. Matthew Boyd. We'll go into Matthew Boyd after we're done naming them, because if you haven't looked at Matthew Boyd's numbers this year, you might want to go check him out. He's been really good. Edwin Diaz for the Mets, Mackenzie Gore, Clayton Kershaw, Freddie Peralta, Robbie Ray, Randy Rodriguez. Randy Rodriguez has been unbelievable for the San Francisco Giants this year. Shout out Lewis. Chris Sale, Paul Skeens, Logan Webb, Zach Wheeler, and Yamamoto. I feel like you got to go into Matthew Boyd first. I don't know if you want to start there.
I do want to start there.
Matthew Boyd coming into today. Actually, I think this is updated ERA right now. 100. I think, but yeah, before this, 100 innings, a 2.59 ERA. This guy was pretty much coming to just be I don't even know. I would say number 5 starter with Justin Steele. Even Jamison Tyon's been really good. Shota Imanaga. But with some of the injuries and stuff like that, Matthew Boyd has stepped up in a huge way for the Chicago Cubs. This is a guy that is limiting hard contact, top 25% in average EV, plenty of chase, limiting walks, and limiting hard hits. I think the Cubs have gotten everything and more for Matthew Boyd, especially the value that he was really supposed to have on this Cubs team. And I don't think a lot of people would have had Matthew Boyd being an all-star, basically one of the best pitchers in the National League to start the year. So you got to give kudos to Matthew Boyd, because he's been everything and more for the Chicago Cubs in the first half of the season.
He's a major part of why this Cubs team is doing so well this year, honestly, and why they're in first in that NL Central. He's held it together. This rotation had a ton of injuries at the start of the year. Steele, Shota, just off the top of my head, but it's been, for the majority of time, it's been like Matthew Boyd, Ben Brown, and I mean, who else in that rotation? Just like Jamison Tyone getting the majority of innings. So, I mean, he's held it down this year. Over 100 innings already in 2025 is unreal. You can make the case there are some other people who deserved it over him, and we'll go over those names. But as far as, his season's been, I think it's well worthy of an all-star selection.
Yeah, and even like Robbie Ray. I know Robbie Ray was a guy that a lot of people were looking for a bounce back year, and I'm just glad that he's really found it again with the Giants. Finally healthy again. The stuff looks great. Robbie Ray is back to being probably a top 25 starting pitcher in Major League Baseball, which is something that he was prior to getting injured. And I mean, he's looked great. We'll get into it a little bit later after we're done looking at all the rosters, but I would say the three best pitchers in Major League Baseball all were on display today. They were fantastic. That being Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal, and Zach Wheeler, who were obviously on these lists. But I kind of want to kick it over to the AL. The AL pitching right now is probably one of the most stacked ones that we've seen in recent years. I think you can make an argument. Even Even a guy like Chris Bubich, who's been a lot of people's breakout pick this year, he's been fantastic. You got Hunter
Mhm.
Waldis Chapman, Garrett Crochet, Jacob DeGrom. That Toby, I don't know about you, man. That makes me so happy that Jacob DeGrom is back in the All Star game.
I don't think it makes anybody upset. It better not.
No, Jacob DeGrom and Mike Trout staying partially healthy this year has been just a godsend thing for Major League Baseball. Max Fried, I know you've given kudos to Max Fried numerous times. I'm on the episodes. Max Fried has been unbelievable for the New York Yankees. I'm just really holding it down in there with the recent news with Luis Gill, Clark Schmidt, just numerous injuries in the staff. So he's really held it down for the New York Yankees. Josh Hader, I think Josh Hader was 25 for 25 in save opportunities. He's been unbelievable. And this was a guy that a lot of people, frankly, were kind of writing off to start the year, which was crazy to say.
Yeah, I remember that.
Had kind of two straight year bad stretches, but Josh Hader has looked unbelievable. You say Kikuchi. The last, I think, 5 or 6 starts is like under a 2 ERA. He's been unbelievable. Andres Munoz is just one of the most shutdown, lockdown closers in all of Major League Baseball. And then you got a guy like Tarek Scoopball, who we'll talk about in a little bit, just probably the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. Shane Smith, shout out the Rule 5 pick. Shane Smith, I think second Rule 5 guy to be in the All-Star game, which is unbelievable among pitchers. And then Brian Wu. Thank God Brian Wu was selected the All-Star game, because over his last 10 starts, he has been one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. But just overall, AL pitching, relief pitching, and starting pitching is absolutely stacked this year.
It's like a really cool mix of like old and young too, because you got guys like Hunter Brown and Tariq Skubal, Garrett Crochet, but then you got like a Aroldis Chapman and Jacob DeGrom and Max Fried. Like it's really cool to see the amount of like, I guess, diversity that we have in age demographic within this pitching staff. So I'm excited. It's going to be a hard staff to get to in this All-Star game, that's for sure. Top to bottom,
Yeah,
I mean, it's ridiculous.
I mean, even like the Cy Young race right now, I mean, between guys like with Hunter Brown, Jacob DeGrom, Tarek Scoopball, Max Fried, like there's so much to like about those 4 names. And then you also look into maybe going into the second half and seeing how that AL Cy Young race is going to finish. Obviously, with Tarek Scoopball, the best pitcher in Major League Baseball, being the front runner. But I mean, Hunter Brown has been unreal. Chris Bubich has been one of the best left-handed pitchers and simply pitchers in Major League Baseball. So it's nice for some of these guys like a Hunter Brown, who had very high expectations going into this year, pretty much being like a Justin Verlander Jr. with his wind-up delivery in Arsenal. A guy like Chris Bubich, who has a lot of breakout picks, and Max Fried, who there was a lot of question marks coming into the year with the contract and the injury history, but all 3 of those guys and the other ones that were listed, like Toby was mentioning, a lot of youth and a lot of veteran guys, like a guy like Aroldis Chapman. It's just a great overall selection this year for the American League.
It's fun. It's just a lot of fun. I'm excited to watch this All-Star game, like genuinely very excited to watch like these pitchers go out and perform. I know not all of them are going to get to pitch, but the ones that do, I don't think I'd be disappointed to see any of these guys, because
Not at all.
I mean, I'd love to see Yusei Kikuchi get up there in an All-Star game and fire up against some of the best in the NL. Like that would just be a lot of fun. These guys are getting the respect they deserve. But let's go like to just snubs now, and I guess we'll start with the AL side of things and the AL pitchers, especially because we just went over those. I've got 3 that I mentioned that I think really just deserve a spot in this All-Star game. And I'll pull up numbers just so I can at least back it up. But the fact that I won't start with the NL. I'll start with the AL. Framber Valdez, Jose Soriano, and Joe Ryan. I think those 3 are well deserving of an All-Star selection. Ethan, I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but
I mean, I saw what Joe Ryan did against the Tampa Bay Rays today. Joe Ryan looked unbelievable. This is a guy that a lot of people were expecting Cy Young votes this year. Dan, what's up, baby?
What's up, Dan?
What's up, Dan? Hope you're enjoying your Sunday, man. Go Mets. But yeah, this was a guy a lot of people had coming into the year with Cy Young votes, and I mean, you could definitely make a case. Jose Soriano. I know there was a lot of people, including me and you, that were really high on him last year. This guy was touching 99 with the sinker, which is unbelievable. But he's finally finding more swing and miss. The walks he's still limiting hard hits to an extent, and he's been unbelievable. And even Framber Valdez, we've made a couple cases on the show. Framber Valdez is just simply one of the most underrated pitchers in Major League Baseball. And look for him to potentially get paid when he's done with the Houston Astros. But I agree with all of those 3. I think those are fantastic shouts.
Yeah, you can make the case for guys like Carlos Rodon as well, but I mean, the way his last start went after that, I really wouldn't give too much thought into that, and that's coming from a Yankee fan personally. I want to answer Dan's question while he's still here, but Ethan, your thoughts on Soto missing the All-Star game? Because I was pretty shocked to see that when I looked at the reserves.
Yeah, I think that's crazy just because, I mean, we talked about it. Ronald Acuna Jr. being in the All-Star game, I think is ridiculous. Granted, he's been arguably the best player in Major League Baseball since he's returned. I think Juan Soto is still up there in F4 when you look at the splits. I think Juan Soto should be in the All-Star game. The numbers speak for themselves, and I think the last 3.5, you could argue a month, 3.5 weeks to a month, he's been one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball. I think last time I checked, he was second in WRC plus to Yandy Diaz. So I definitely agree with that. The Blue Jays winning the AL East, I don't know. I know we're going to talk about the standings in maybe 20 minutes, but the Blue Jays look for real right now. They're well over 10 games above 500. We talk about snubs. George Springer has been unbelievable for them. Addison Barger has been great. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Max Scherzer's looked pretty good his last couple starts. And I mean, this is a team along with, all the contenders in the American League that are probably going to get better with moves that they're going to make at the trade deadline. The Blue Jays look legit. It kind of reminds me of when the Orioles were kind of being slept on. And I think it was 2023 or 2022 when they came out and they were, projected to be like an 80-win team, and they come out and win 101 games. Mm-hmm. You could see the same thing from a team like the Blue Jays, not in terms of how many games they win, but just shocking the league right now, because I don't think anyone expected on July 6th for them to be in first place in the American League East by, I think, 3 games. So good stuff for the Blue Jays.
No, I certainly didn't expect it. They crept up on me quite a bit there. I don't know. Like you said, we'll talk about this more as time goes on here, but the fact that Soto's not playing in this All-Star game, and I'm no disrespect to a guy like Kyle Stowers just having a great year, but if he's going in, like, I get every team's got to have a representative, but Juan Soto's got to get in. Like we got to make that make a little bit of sense. I don't think there's any ridiculous take there, but I mean, Andy Pages also didn't get in, and he's arguably been better than Soto all year. There were definitely a couple of outfielders that got left off, and unfortunately, Soto was the Met that got the front end of the stick here. Like,
I think if a guy like Julio Rodriguez is making the All-Star game, I think a guy like Juan Soto in the National League could be making the All-Star game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Soto should have definitely been in, man. 7th in F4 among NL outfielders in the first half. Like, he deserved to be in there. Everybody else who's an outfielder, honestly, deserved to be in. That's in, really deserved it. So, I don't know. But while we're on the topic of NL Reserve, let's talk about the NL Reserve slumps, and then we'll get into or snubs. Sorry, dude, I can't even. Dude, it's been a ridiculously long weekend, bro. Snubs, NL Reserve snubs, Ethan. I honestly, I didn't have many. There's one big one though that I figured you probably.
Oh, I mean, I think there's 2 pretty big ones.
I think there's 2 big ones in the staff and the lineup of the reserves, but not necessarily.
Yeah, I'm going to go into the big one for the Cubs. I think Michael Busch has been the 3rd best hitter in the National League in terms of WRC plus. Michael Busch isn't an all-star. I don't care if this guy is a platoon bat. He only hits right-handed pitching. He doesn't go up against lefties. I understand he's been on a heater the last couple weeks or the last month. I don't think that matters. The guy's OPS is well over 930. I think he has close to 20 home runs, and he's hitting close to 300. And in what world is that not an all-star type of player? And also Trey Turner, my Lord. I don't even know
that was the big one I meant.
I don't even know how that's possible. This guy's been the best shortstop in the National League in terms of overall value. And I know Francisco Lindor finally made the All-Star game. Congratulations to him. But I think you can make a case that Trey Turner and Ellie De La Cruz should probably be starting over him at this point. So those are 2 that were like crazy, especially Michael Busch, 3rd best hitter in the National League this year, and he's not an all-star. That's insane.
He had 2.5 F4 in the first half. I completely agree with putting Matt Olson and Pete Alonso in there. But when Busch has been better than a guy like Freddie Freeman, man, I don't know.
You can make the case he's been better than Matt Olson. Like, Michael Bush has been unreal. It's like I
Yeah,
don't understand how he was not. I mean, you could argue he's probably the biggest snub out of both the leagues.
I think Trey Turner's a bigger snub. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. But
Yeah, I
I
mean,
had Michael Bush as well. Um, William Contreras as kind of a snub there. I don't know. The catchers were kind of honestly not too difficult to pick this year, in my opinion. Uh, and then out of the pitchers, I mean, biggest one for me was Christopher Sanchez. Just the way he's
I mean,
been playing
I
recently.
was just gonna pose the question to you. How is Christopher Sanchez not an All Star?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, I really just what he's been doing leading up to the All Star game would have made me have thought that he was going to make it this year. His numbers are better than they were last year. He was an All Star last year. I mean, I'd have to compare his two first halves, but Savant Page looks a whole lot more well rounded this year. I mean, he's taken a step forward. I just don't understand how he's not in.
I mean, yeah, it's tough because like it's the same thing with the American League. Like if you go and look at those arms, like I know I was talking to a couple people about Ryan Pepio being left off for Drew Rasmussen. If you go and look at the names in the American League and National League this year, it's really hard for some of
It's
these
hard
like
to leave.
snubs to
Yeah.
get in. Yeah, really hard. You'd say the same thing about Sonny Gray, posting a 3.51 ERA over 100 innings with 107 strikeouts. So that K per nine is over 9, which is fantastic. Not having really anyone, get free passes against him. Top 5% walk rate. The Arsenal just looks really good this year. This guy's rocking a 7-pitch mix. And in terms of pitching run value, I think he's been top 10 in Major League Baseball. He's like 90th percentile in all of his pitching run values and overall run value. So Sonny Gray is another guy you could easily put up there for a snub. Not I guess not a snub, but a guy that definitely should get recognition for a great first half that he's had.
Yeah,
Say
absolutely.
Suzuki. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, no,
Suzuki's unreal.
yeah, you can make that argument. Say I deserve to be in as well. Um, I could make the case for guys like Jesus Luzardo and Mitch Keller. I know Luzardo's had bumps in the road in this first half that have made it seem like maybe he isn't an all-star. So I don't. And again, all of these names on here, you're not taking Clayton Kershaw off this year. You're honestly, you're not taking guys like Robbie Ray off. Even I mean, those are guys that have earned hardware. Like
100%.
and I do kind of think that the guys who have earned the hardware in the past out of the big names are I do think that there is a bit more leniency and there should be towards those guys because they bring in more viewership. It sucks for the guys that may be getting their only All Star year, but I don't know. I don't know. Christopher Sanchez or a guy like Clayton Kershaw, I could see why they're going with the guy they're going with. Because
Yeah, the Clayton Kershaw thing I think shocked a lot of people. Granted, I think there's like the one veteran pick that the commissioner has,
yeah,
but
it's the legend pick, and I feel like if anyone has a true issue with that, beside it just purely taking a spot from somebody, like if you have an issue with Kershaw playing in this one, like he's gonna put on a show if he pitches, like he will.
right.
So I don't have an issue with putting him in the game at all, other than the fact that I think if you use the commissioner's pick, whatever team should just get an extra roster spot. But I don't know if
Yeah.
that's incredibly fair either.
Do you wanna go into the NL and AL reserves, and then we'll go into the I think there's like 3 or 4 position player stumps that we had for each.
Yeah, I think we gotta go over the. I gave my NL snubs for the reserves already, but we still got to go through the actual list of reserves. So the reserves for the NL: Pete Alonso, Corbin Carroll, Ellie De La Cruz, Brendan Donovan, Hunter Goodman, Matt Olson, Kyle Schwarber, Kyle Stowers, Eugenio Suarez, Fernando Tatis Jr., and James Wood. Thank God James Wood made the reserves, dude.
Stole it right out of my mouth.
Because
Can't
they
be
did that on
happier for James
purpose with the
Wood.
graphic too. They did that on purpose. They put his name at the bottom, but they put his picture on it. Like they did that on purpose. Just
Yeah,
keep
shout
up
out
with the
James Wood's
excellence.
mom for posting about it. Shout out the Woods family, and just an absolute honor that this guy, I'm at 22 years old, is going to be representing his family, and especially his organization, the Washington Nationals, at the All Star game. Also, I know we kind of talked about it a few episodes ago. Thank God Hunter Goodman is an All Star, man.
Yeah,
I know that you're going to mention another Rockies guy that was one of your snubs, but Hunter Goodman has put together a fantastic year out there in Colorado. And same thing too, Brendan Donovan. I'm so happy that Brendan Donovan is finally an All Star. Has put it together the last few years. Has just been a very, very solid bat for the St. Louis Cardinals.
yeah. No, he deserved to be in 100% by. honestly, the fact that he wasn't starting kind of sucks. The most valuable second baseman in the NL, but again, I'm a huge Ketel Marte guy, so I'm never going to complain about
right?
getting to see Ketel. But yeah, I mean, Seiya, All Star snub, just homered. So, and I don't know if you saw the comment, but leads the league in RBIs, but isn't an All Star either.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, just because if Seiya was playing, I know he's listed as a right fielder, but I know he's pretty much like DHing right now. And I mean, there's no way that you're probably putting him above. I mean, maybe Schwarber, but like still, Kyle Schwarber's putting together a great year, and you're definitely not putting him over Shohei Ohtani. So it's kind of hard in that reserve. But if he's listed as an outfielder, maybe he makes it due to someone being injured. I know even like the AL right now, Toby and I were talking about it off camera before we started. Jeremy Pena is kind of banged up, so I think there's someone that might replace him. There's a lot of other guys that I think are listed but have some stuff going on, so maybe they opt out. Injuries happen, people get swapped out, but hopefully Seiya Suzuki is an all-star by the time we get to Atlanta, which would be great to see.
Yeah, I hope he some way or somehow just ends up there. Uh, Snubs, yeah, any more? Because I give my position players all up and like through the course of that first like kind of 10 minutes we were talking about it.
Yeah, not too many. I mean, Jake Bird. I think Jake Bird should definitely be an all-star. I know it's kind of hard because every team gets, their one guy. I think you could probably make a case that it's Hunter Goodman over Jake Bird. But
I'd
as
agree
of the
with that.
time, yeah, I mean, I think a few weeks ago when we were recording, it was like under like a 1.5 ERA. I understand it hasn't been as good recently, but this guy has still been unbelievable and has been criminally underrated for the Rockies. Maybe that's a guy that they move at the deadline. Maybe get some value for him. But not really too much more. You could go with Robert Suarez. I know he's been really, really bad recently, so I wouldn't necessarily say a snub, but definitely a guy that deserves it. And Adrian Morejon has just been one of the best stuff relievers in Major League Baseball the last 2 to 3 years. This guy's throwing 100 from the left side, which is ridiculous. You don't see that really by any lefty in Major League Baseball. So I would definitely go with those three, but definitely you got to shout out Jake Bird. He's been unbelievable.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I do think you go towards a guy like Hunter Goodman. What he's doing on a day-to-day basis is more
Right.
impressive to me than what Jake Bird is doing. But no disrespect to a guy who has a 2.79 ERA and 48.1 innings pitched. That's a solid season when you're pitching at Coors Field. So the 29-year-old is going to have a very successful career, and he will eventually get an All-Star appearance. I feel it's just probably not going to happen this year with the Rockies, or it's definitely not happening this year. Probably won't happen with the Rockies at all. Did we go over I don't think we went over the AL reserves yet. I can't even remember anymore.
No, you're
Um,
good. Oh, Jonathan
First name.
Aranda.
Yeah, I was just gonna.
Oh my God. Thank sweet baby Jesus that Jonathan Aranda is an all-star this year. Deserved it. I think if he didn't make it, I know the Trey Turner thing was a big one. I think you could have made the case Jonathan Aranda was. League and average. I think OBP, OPS, average. He's leading in pretty much every meaningful category except homers and RBIs. Alex Bregman, we're gonna get into that later. Byron Buxton, thank God Byron Buxton is an all-star. He's playing at an MVP caliber level. And last time we recorded, he was supposed to be projected to be the 10th most valuable player in all of Major League Baseball for the remainder of the year. So Byron Buxton being an all-star is just fantastic. Your boy Jazz Chisholm Jr., granted, he's been kind of injured a few times this year, but Jazz is just putting up unbelievable numbers when you look at the 162 pace over the course of a full season. Alejandro Kirk, Stephen Kwan, Brandon Lau, Jeremy Pena, Julio Rodriguez. We're going to get into that in probably 2 seconds. Brent Rooker and Bobby Witt Jr. I don't know where your first AL snub is. You could start maybe in the infield. I have one that you could probably make a case it could be in over Julio Rodriguez.
I've got a couple that I could make the case for over Julio, but in terms of infielders, there were a couple and a few that kind of came to mind. I'd love to see Stock Paredes get the nod. I think you could easily make the case for him. Two others that I thought, one especially would be his first. Both of these would be their first, but one especially I think is going to be earning a lot of All-Star appearances. So I don't hate not giving him the nod. Is Junior Caminero. I think he obviously, and you're not going to disagree with me there, but he far and away deserves at least some consideration. And I mean, if we're selecting a guy like Alex Bregman who's played 51 games, Junior has not really been as much less valuable than he has been. Like,
I
and
think
he's
he leads in home runs and RBIs among AL third basemen. So it's definitely not a bad case for Junior.
and then
Granted, like your
even
point is he's going to make a few in his career for sure.
yeah, and then the one guy that I think maybe won't have that opportunity. So when he has the numbers, let's try and maybe sneak him in there is Ernie Clement, and I don't know how the Canadian fan base just couldn't get him in. But Ernie Clement, dude, the fourth most valuable third baseman by F4. He's been hitting 298. Yeah, 298 with a 340 OBP, a 398 slug. So I mean, he's not necessarily putting up like the sexiest numbers, but he's been
Right.
really productive for the Blue Jays, and they're a team that's not only really competitive, they're leading one of the best divisions in the entire league, if not the
100%.
best. So I think you could really make the case for him over a guy like Bregman. But I mean, if you look at Bregman's numbers in the advanced profile too, it's hard not to give it to a guy like that, even though he's only played those 51 games. But both of these guys that are going to be at third base for the AL have played less than 60 games.
Right.
So I don't
Yeah.
know how you feel about that, but
No, I get it. I don't. Do you have a problem? I mean, at least for me, I don't think Julio Rodriguez deserved to be an All Star.
nah.
Granted, I think it helps the game grow. With a guy
Yeah,
like Acuna. If that was the case, I don't know why Juan Soto's on All Star because he helps the game grow, especially in his home
more than
country
Julio
of the
does, that's
DR.
for sure.
So I think you can make a case even Cedar Rafaela could be an All Star over Julio Rodriguez. That might be a hot take, but defensively, it's probably pretty close. Offensively, not too far in between. And Cedar the last couple weeks has been swinging a hot bat. I think on our last show, over his last 20, 25 games, he was hitting over 300, which is crazy to say. Andrew Benintendi has a higher OPS than Julio. Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I know we were talking about, I know Teo's on All-Star, right now. I know he was up there in the voting at the time, but Sal Frelick had a higher OPS than Teo. So Andrew Benintendi having a higher OPS than Julio Rodriguez is actually very, very eye-opening when you really look at it. But granted, it helps the game grow. I understand to an extent why it's the case. I mean, even a guy like Jake Myers, who was really good defensively last year, has taken a step offensively. I mean, dude, Randy Rosarena has homered 6 times in his last 7 games. Randy Rosarena, when he gets hot, we've seen it in October. We see it potentially in the regular season too. Pre-Hall of Fame projection from the yeah. I don't know. I mean, we talked about it, and I've been on the record too. I think Julio Rodriguez is probably for sure Hall of Famer if he has one MVP level season based on B-WAR, but I don't think Julio Rodriguez deserves to be an All-Star. I mean, Nate made a great point. Andrew Benintendi has a higher OPS. I think his teammate, Randy Rosarena, has put up a better year and has been one of the hottest hitters over the last week and a half. So I definitely have a pretty good gripe with Julio being in the All-Star game this year.
I agree with everything you said. I don't think he really deserves to be in this year. We got to start holding this guy to a higher standard, in my opinion. If we're gonna hold Juan Soto to the high standard as well, I think that's only fair. You mentioned Jake Myers and Randy already, so I don't got to go into them. We mentioned the pitchers, and then in terms of the relievers, I really don't care. Honestly, I think we got great relievers in there. So that's all I got for the All-Stars, man. I mean, unless anybody has any other questions in the chat for us about it, I mean, we're gonna move on here to our next topic. But Ethan, I know you wanted to talk about just the 3 absolute studs on the mound today that just went to work and got their job. Christopher Morel also has a higher OPS than Julio.
No, there's no way. I'm sorry. I gotta check that out.
How many games have they
There's
played?
no way. There's no way that is true.
We need to keep these coming. Need to find more people with a higher
wow,
OPS.
There's no way. Christopher Morales is 722 OPS.
I'm gonna look at AL outfielders and see who has a higher OPS.
Oh my god, I didn't even know, dude. J-Rod's OPS is sub 700 right now.
Oh my god, are we sure?
I did not.
Cedric Mullins, Trevor Larnach, Tyler Soderstrom, Lawrence Butler. 2/3 of the Athletics outfield has a higher OPS than Julio Rodriguez. Jason Dominguez, Taylor Ward, Jose Altuve.
I didn't know it was that bad, to be completely honest
Harry
with you.
Carpenter, Cody Bellinger, Cam Smith,
I didn't know it was that bad. I really did not know Julio Rodriguez was OPSing sub
You
700.
know who's top 5 in OPS among qualified AL outfielders though?
Trent Grisham.
He's not far out. He's number 7. I was thinking Joe Adell.
I did see that. I saw that post between the Joe Adell and Julio thing, and I think there's a big discrepancy too with defense. But come on, we're like it's the All-Star game. I'm pretty sure every active. Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that. Some of the guys in the race have a higher OPS than Julio. I know there's like a defensive discussion between some of these guys that people like really love to talk about. I'm sorry. In the All-Star game, I could give you rat's ass about defense.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry to say that. I think to Toby's point, would you say that Joe Adell is more deserving in the All-Star game than Julio? I'd probably say so.
Yes.
Yeah, I would probably say so.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's no shot.
Nathan Lukes, Jake Mangum, Cody Bellinger, Harrison Bader, Cedric Mullins have a higher OPS than Julio Rodriguez. Cedon Rafaela actually has these. Like I said, I think you can make a case Cedon Rafaela deserves the All-Star game more than Julio Rodriguez. I think he easily could.
I agree with that. I just don't think many AL outfielders are not deserving over Julio at this point that are at least qualified. Like, I mean, you heard me go through that list. Like, there's a lot.
Yeah, we're gonna transition from Nathan Lukes having a higher OPS than Julio Rodriguez, which is absolutely crazy, or higher WRC plus than Julio Rodriguez, excuse me. To probably the top 3 pitchers in Major League Baseball. I would say right now it's probably Tarek Skubal. You can maybe have Zach Wheeler and Paul Skeens interchangeable at this point. All 3 of them went on the mound. All 3 of them dominated. Paul Skeens today. I mean, we'll kind of start towards the bottom and we'll work our way up because I think Zach Wheeler probably had the best outing today.
Yeah.
But Paul Skeens, I think against the Seattle Mariners, 5 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, 0 walks, 10 Ks, 18 whiffs. The one thing that I think is crazy when you look at Paul Skeens and his 1.94 ERA, he's 4-7. How the hell do you have a sub 2 ERA and you have a losing record? And it's not like barely. Like Paul Skeens has lost 3 more games than he's won. And I understand it's honestly similar to like the 2018 DeGrom season where this guy got like no run support. I think Jacob DeGrom was actually
literally
knocking in more. Yeah, he was knocking in more RBIs than the Mets were producing for him. But Paul Skeens is getting no run support. There was a time in the season where Paul Skeens won, I think, 6+ innings, giving up 1 or fewer runs. Paul Skeens won one of those games, which is crazy to say. But Paul Skeens, unbelievable day. 116 innings, 125 Ks with a sub 1 WHIP, and like I said, 1.94 ERA with a 4-7 record is ridiculous when you just really look at it and think about it out loud. The fact that he's lost more games than he's won and he has a sub 2 ERA.
He, in all honesty, didn't, for his standards, even dominate today. He went 5 innings. They didn't score a single run in this game. They lost 1-0. Like, he gave them all the chance in the world to go out there.
They lost 1-0?
They lost 1-0. And when you look at Skeens' like advanced stuff and like the underlying numbers for a start, he was not at his best today. I mean, most like pitch velocities for him. I mean, fastball was down a tick. I mean, slider, sweeper, and splitter, or slider and just sweeper were up, but splitter was down. The changeup was barely up. The velo wasn't necessarily cranked up to the max that we're seeing with Paul Skeens. Spin was up on everything, but vertical break for the most part was all down. Like, he really wasn't like, he did get 18 whiffs, but we expect that out of Paul Skeens. Like, we expect him to go 6 or 7. Like, he only went 5 innings today. And 5 hits, 0 earned runs, 10 Ks. Like, this is kind of just a normal day in the office for Paul Skeens. And that's what's crazy.
I mean, really, really unbelievable. The fact that you pointed out that they actually lost 1-0 is just to the point that I made earlier. So I think it's 6 or 7 games this year that he's gone, I think, over 5 or 6 innings with less than 1 earned run or 1 earned run. And he's, I think, won one of those starts, which is ridiculous to say.
I wonder how much he actually like cares about wins and losses. He seems like the guy who just really doesn't care at all.
He wants to win. Like, I know, like,
I'm
on the
sure he does.
day,
But
they interviewed him post game. He didn't give a rat's ass about how long the line was or that there were 45,000 plus people packed in to watch him pitch. They lost the game. Paul Skeens wants to. I granted he likes the accolades and stuff. This guy is, as you know, I think he cares about winning more than the personal accolades, and I think he's said it multiple times. But I don't think Paul Skeens is going to say he had his best outing, but he still goes out there, has 5 innings of 10K baseball, and your team loses 1-0. That's like just the epitome of the Pirate season, really. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I guess I'm more kind of mean, like, Paul Skeens is just so nonchalant all the time about everything. You saw how he was when he won Rookie of the Year. So you're right. He doesn't care about the accolades at all. But I don't know. I also feel like he doesn't let these like 1-0 losses even get to him. I feel like he just goes out there and just continues to just day in and day out grind, and that's what makes him just such a special pitcher. But let's move on to Skubal now. Went 7 innings pitched today against a really, really bad Cleveland Guardians team right now. Allowed only 3 hits, 0 runs, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, also 10 strikeouts, 20 whiffs. I mean, most other days that's going to be the best outing of the day, but for anybody.
I mean, I think Tarek Skubbal's last start was, I think, a complete game with 13 Ks, and it was not even 100 pitches. I think it was one of the first times the lefty's ever done that.
Was that his?
I think it was, yeah. Tarek Skubal had like one of the most dominant outings ever. I think it was his last start or 2 starts ago. I think without a doubt, I understand there was a lot of Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal discussion. I understand Zach Wheeler was kind of thrown in that conversation. Tarek Skubal, I think, is by far and away the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. I think when he goes out there every single day, you know what you're getting. I think you're getting at least 6 innings with him of 2 earned runs or less. Recently, it's like 1 earned run or less. If he allows more than 2, it's like, holy shit, this isn't Tarek Skubal. You're so used to exactly what he's doing. But yeah, 20 whiffs, 10 Ks over 7 innings today. Tarek Skubal this year is 10-2 with a 2.02 ERA, 116 innings, 148 Ks. His whip is 0.81. Tarek Skubal, when he is on the mound, bulldog mentality. We saw it even against one of his starts, the Red Sox. He was kind of shit talking and messing around with Alex Bregman about him swinging at the first pitch and stuff like that. I don't think there's any pitcher in Major League Baseball you would want to build your team around than Tarek Skubal. He's just simply far and above, in my opinion, probably the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. We'll get into Zach Wheeler in 2 seconds. Trust me.
The fact that he is only 28 years old. I mentioned briefly, and I don't want to really spend too much time on minor league stuff or really any time today because that's just not what this episode's for. But the Tigers' future is incredibly fun to look
into. Talk about it, man. Yeah, talk about it.
No, the Erie Seawolves are going to be more fun to watch than like the bottom 4 Major League Baseball teams because they just promoted guys like Kevin McGonigal, Max Clark, Jose Briseño. I hope I'm not missing anybody else, but I think that was the only, like, those were the main 3.
Those are the 3, yep.
But they're joining in a stacked team of AA guys that have been performing really, really well. So if you're a fan of Eastern League Baseball, that's going to be a team you gotta tune into. But we'll have all the coverage from them because I'm going to be watching those games for sure. And then you have this guy who's 28 years old doing this, who's just entering his prime, like right before our eyes, and he's going to have a really, really good young core come in to fill in to guys that are already starting to perform really, really well. It's just they're putting something really well together there.
Yeah, I think Tarek Skubal is probably going to leave. I think it was just kind of announced like maybe a week or I mean, he's now a Boris agent and he's probably looking to get paid. But I mean, Tarek Skubal is probably, and I think you could probably agree, he's probably going back-to-back Cy Young awards at this point. It'd be really hard for anyone to kind of even rival him. He's just been simply the best pitcher in Major League Baseball this year.
This dude was a 9th round pick.
Yeah, and I think it was weird last year. There was a lot of people that were picking Tarek Skubal to win the Cy Young. That was like one of the first, I guess, when I've been involved with Twitter and kind of the internet for baseball. A lot of people were very high on Tarek Skubal just from the stuff. This guy's finally staying healthy.
Yeah,
it was weird. Yeah, but it was like a lot of the baseball community was on it. But yeah, Tarek Skubal has just been, there's really no words to describe what he's able to do. I think the 2 outings ago, he topped, I think, almost 103 miles an hour. It's like 102.6 on his last pitch of the game, and it was the hardest of his career. If that doesn't tell you the type of competitor and the type of just badassness that this guy possesses on the mound, I don't know what does. Tops his career high in velo for I think his 13th or 14th strikeout of the game for a complete game. Just unbelievable stuff. And I mean, he did it again. Granted, the Guardians I think have lost 10 straight games, but still, the guy is just unbelievable.
His max pitch velo on his sinker today was 99.5.
That's stupid.
Lefties aren't supposed to do that.
You're not even supposed to get near triple digits as a lefty. Granted, Tarek Skubal has hit 100, multiple times this year.
He hit 100.8 today as his max four seam velo.
He's gotten better. The stuff has gotten better this year, which is
spin
crazy.
Across the board was up a crazy amount today. Like if you the knuckle curve spin rate was up over triple digits today.
Yeah, that's insane.
He was spinning that. I mean, he looked good today. Pretty much everything across the board was up, besides the horizontal break. But I mean, dude, if you're throwing sinkers 100 miles an hour, who cares at all?
No one's touching that.
No. So, told based on Stitch guys, we be getting into Zach Wheeler. Ethan, we got to get into some Zach Wheeler. They won 3-1 today against the Cincinnati Reds. I was really excited for this one, man. I was really excited to see Chase Burns and Zach Wheeler go at it. We knew who was going to probably come out on top there. Zach Wheeler didn't give Chase Burns really any shot. 9 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 run, 0 walks, 12 strikeouts, and 22 whiffs.
I don't think you could say enough about Zach Wheeler. I really think this is the year he finally puts together the Cy Young year. Granted, he's put together these type of years the last couple, but he's had just, I guess, dogs that have been above him, which is crazy to say. The fact that he doesn't have a Cy Young is so weird to kind of talk about because I think to a lot of people, this is at worst, for some, at least a top 2 pitcher or top 3 pitcher in Major League Baseball. But Zach Wheeler right now is 9-3 with a 2.17 ERA and over 116 innings. He has 148 Ks. Zach Wheeler is an absolute bulldog ace, badass in the regular season. And if you go and look at his postseason numbers, I think it's like a 2.37 or 2.17 ERA in the postseason. So you could say what you want about Zach Wheeler in the regular season because he is arguably the most dominant pitcher in Major League Baseball. There's not a lot of guys you could say that about, and then they go into the postseason and arguably get better. There's no one probably in baseball right now in the postseason I would rather have than Zach Wheeler. He's unbelievable. He's one of the best postseason pitchers we've probably seen in this generation.
To have 116 innings pitched and be below a .9 whip. I can't name off the top of my head if I've seen stuff like that before, and I could maybe even look at the pitchers now and find something close, but just the numbers are ridiculous. His ERA is almost sub 2.
Yeah, I mean it makes no sense what Zach Wheeler is able to do on a every 5-day basis. I think you know exactly what you're getting. I think him and Tarek Skubal are probably the only 2 pitchers right now where when they go on the mound, you know exactly what you're getting. I think you could probably say that with Paul Skeens, but we've seen a few times this year where it's been kind of, I guess, iffy, which iffy for him is still like insane results wise. But we saw the start against Mizrowski. I think he had one before that, but I think those 2 pitchers right now are the only guys where you know, I think exactly what you're getting. And if at the absolute worst, it's probably 2 to 3 runs.
Yeah.
I don't think there's another pitcher that could probably be in that conversation right now. They've been unbelievable, and both of these guys have done it. Zach Wheeler, obviously longer than Tarek Skubal, but definitely the last 2 seasons. Those have probably been the 2 guys where you know what you're getting with them.
Yeah, and the stuff you're getting from Zach Wheeler is just some of the best in baseball. I mean, besides the sinker, which he only uses just less than 17% of the time, that generates a 276 batting average against. The next highest batting average against for a single pitch that he throws is that cutter. That's 214.
Yeah, and one thing that, I mean, it gets talked about enough, Zach Wheeler has a 31.4% whiff rate on his fastball. The fact that you have over a 30% whiff rate on a fastball is crazy. I think there was only a handful of starters last year that had that clip. I know Ryan Pepio, I think, was one of those guys. But when you're able to dominate in the zone like Zach Wheeler is with that 6-pitch mix, you have a 30% whiff rate on your fastball. You can also throw your sweeper that has a 34.5% whiff rate. And then his curveball, which he's still like barely using, Toby, 51.5% whiff rate on the curveball. So he has 3 pitches where, especially the curveball, you're swinging and missing half the time. And if the fact that you're swinging and missing a third of the time on a fastball is outrageous. Zach Wheeler is just unlocking new levels, it seems like, every single year in Major League Baseball. And I think this is the year he finally wins the Cy Young because he's just been so dominant.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he has his best shot that he's ever had, at least this year, to get it. Over 30% whiff rate on a fastball is ridiculous. I mean,
insane.
Makes sense. 22 whiffs today, most that we at least talked about today. To be able to watch all three of these guys on the same day, it feels like we shouldn't be allowed to do that.
It's like Christmas. I mean, it really is like Christmas. And I think George Kirby was the guy that was going against Paul Skeens today too. So it's like Joe Ryan pitched today. I'll mention it for 2 seconds. Joe Boyle, holy shit, man. Joe Boyle had 40 pitches over 98 miles an hour today. Joe Boyle looked unbelievable. He was around 100 miles an hour today. I think it was like 15 whiffs, 7 Ks in 5 innings. For all the Joe Boyle fantasy owners, keep him while you can right now. Or if you're not having him on your team, look to potentially add him. Joe Boyle looked unbelievable today. So just the overall slate for pitching was fantastic. It was so impressive to watch.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this comment up from earlier because it's more fitting here now.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Joe Boyle looked unbelievable. This guy fixed the pitch mix a little bit. He added a splinker. The glove is now near the belt. Better timing mechanism. They lowered his arm angle by, I think, 12 or 13 degrees. If Joe Boyle is in the zone, not even a hot take, this guy has like top 5 to top 10 stuff in Major League Baseball. It is silly what this guy is able to do on the mound once he's able to find his timing and get his locations and his pitch mix down.
Yeah.
He looked great today.
Looked great all spring as well. I mean, he's looked great all year. Glad to see him getting his shot for sure. Let's talk about the standings a little bit before we get out of here. And I think we all want to go towards the AL East first because
I don't know how you couldn't. I don't know how you couldn't go to the AL East first. I wanted to get your thoughts real quick on the Yankees. They've been scuffling a little bit, but what have you kind of seen from them that's just been kind of off like the last 10? They're 3-7 in their last 10.
They're getting decimated by injuries again, so that doesn't help whatsoever. Katie wants to
yeah, baby. Come on, you got to throw in the yeah, baby, real quick.
Yankees are not making me feel that way at all. They're just not. Getting decimated by the injuries again. Clark Schmidt going down doesn't help us whatsoever. Thoughts on the Mariners? Better than the Yankees, that's for sure right now. I mean,
Randy Rosarena looks pretty good. George Kirby, I think, had a pretty decent start today. I mean, the Mariners are good. Like, if they can, I know Luis Robert Jr., Katie, you and I have talked about it. If they can get a impact bat like that, I mean, this team is still very dangerous. It's a team that you still want to face in October with still the rotation that they're able to have, which is crazy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I don't know if I could say the same thing about the Yankees anymore because we're just getting demolished in the pitching side of things. I'm really excited to see Cam Schlittler make his debut. I know I'm very high on him as a pitching prospect. Yep. I didn't think he'd be up by now, but the stuff that he's shown this year with the injuries, I mean, he deserves a shot. Why not? Hitting, I mean, guys like Jazz obviously really excite me. I don't even think he really deserved the All-Star selection, but he's been amazing for the Yankees this year, so I'm not going to complain about seeing one of my favorite players in the league get an All-Star nod. Yeah, the problem is, Katie, I don't think they have enough to go get Sandy. Like, they've made trades with the Marlins before. No, he said Yankees cooked.
Oh, yeah, I don't think so either. Yankees farm system.
Unless we want to give up a guy like Spencer Jones, which I personally don't want to at all. Unless the Marlins want to take like a package of like Cody Bellinger and some really like not weak, but like solid old AA players. Like I'm not
Oswaldo Peraza.
They want to take Everson Pereira and Oswald Peraza, then maybe. Yeah, no, our farm is depleted.
The farm is atrocious,
and no one's gonna want the arms either in the farm because half of them are hurt. So it's a tough go at it for the Yankees. So they're gonna have to, you may be like, oh, the Yankees should go out and get a guy like Gino Suarez and Ryan McMahon. They're gonna go out and get Ke'Bryan Hayes because that's what they have the opportunity to go get out and do. So I just don't feel good about where they're at right now. They have to make so many moves. and they don't really have the resources to do so. And
Yeah.
I'd rather just hold out at this point and just pray that maybe this season just figures itself out, and that a guy like Aaron Judge can help get your team together, and that a guy like Jason Dominguez can continue to surge, and that Ben Rice can continue to put things together, and maybe Goldschmidt can find it again at the end of the year. Like, it might be worth just hoping that stuff goes right than to try and make and force something to happen, because I saw TikTok about when we almost tried to like force trade for Andrelton Simmons and Jason Hayward, and that trade package was like Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, and Luis Severino.
Oh my
So,
God.
so like I mean I would not like to look back in like 10 years and
Wow.
think like, oh, we traded away Spencer Jones, who else, George Lombard, and Ben Hess or Bryce Cunningham for or Chase Hampton for a guy like Sandy Alcantara, who I think is ultimately going to go to the Cubs or the Dodgers anyway. So
Yeah.
sorry for the rant,
100%.
but I don't
No,
feel good
that
about the Yankees, and I don't feel good about what they're probably going to do in the future.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, I think you can make an argument. Granted, the Yankees have, I would say, more money than everyone. I know Boston's kind of up there in terms of their market, and Toronto's been a high bidder. They've offered $700 million contract to a few notable players over the last years. But I think the Yankees right now are probably the worst position for the future value, just because their farm is so depleted. I love Jazz Chisholm Jr., but I think outside of Aaron Judge right now, it's kind of bleak. Cody Bellinger's only getting older. Ben Rice has been kind of up and down throughout the year. Jason Dominguez, yeah, he's been surging, but I think Jason Dominguez might just be kind of a little overrated, granted what we've kind of seen and granted his prospect status. But even like going back to the standings, the Toronto Blue Jays right now are 14 games over 500. No one expected this. I know that there was a lot of people that were clowning on Blue Jays fans for celebrating. For all those people, go screw yourself. This team hasn't, I think, gone to the playoffs in 10 years. They haven't gone to the playoffs in 10 years. I don't think they've won a playoff game in 10 years. And yeah, if you're a Blue Jays fan, you have to be damn happy with what your team is doing. The Yankees shortly trail them by 3 games. The Rays, who've been scuffling, granted, they pulled out a win today, which, my God, I was on the edge of my seat. It was such a brutal game to watch. But yeah, those top 3 teams have been really good. Boston won today. Cedar Rafaela's looked really good recently. They're a game over 500, 6.5 games back. Definitely look for them to make some moves. I don't think they're out of it. And the Baltimore Orioles, dude, have been surging the last month and a half. No one's really talking about that. Granted, yeah, they're way back in the division, but this division right now, in terms of all these teams playing good right around the last month, it's arguably the most competitive division of baseball right now. And other than the Baltimore Orioles, every single team in this division has a positive run differential. Yankees being plus 95, Rays plus 69, Red Sox plus 33, and the Blue Jays at plus 12. This division looks really, really good right now, Toby.
I'm really worried about the Blue Jays, dude. Not that I think they're going to fall off. I think they're going to continue to surge, and that makes me worried for my Yankees at least. Looking at the Blue Jays, dude, they have like, I think in the last 2 weeks, they have like 5 qualified hitters with over a 100 WRC plus. And George Springer, I tweeted about this on 4th of July, had like a 303 WRC plus in that stretch, like over the last couple of weeks. Andres Jimenez is starting to find it again, and that can get really dangerous for some teams, considering Vlad Jr. is starting to really look just hot here in the stretch of the season. Addison Barger has not really slowed down much. Alejandro Kirk
Bichette hit a bomb the other day. Yeah,
he did.
Alejandro Kirk's been unreal.
And Alejandro Kirk and Ernie Clement were really solid in the first half. So, I mean, I assume that if this team continues to play good, they'll find it. Hitting's contagious. So, look at the pitching then. And I'm not the craziest fan of this pitching staff, but Gosman the last couple of starts, a 1.38 ERA. Eric Lauer the last 3 starts, a 3.45 ERA.
Eric Lauer's been the godsend for Toronto this year.
And
you
then
talk about a guy that stepped up. It's Eric Lauer.
Yeah, and then you got to think a guy like Max Scherzer is going to, if they get to the postseason, is going to turn it up a notch. Like, you have 100%. To think that. So, Blue Jays are gonna be a scary team, I think, for a team to have to go up against for the rest of the year, because I think a lot of people are saying, well, they can't do this for the rest of the year. I wouldn't be surprised to see them do somewhat of the same thing. I mean, they seem to find it, and this is a good team. Like, this is just a really good team. Not even at full force either.
You have Kirk, Vladdy, Andre Jimenez who's getting going, Bo Bichette, George Springer, Addison Barger.
I want to take a look at their IL.
Their pen has been kind of sneaky good too. The Blue Jays are a really good team. And I think a few people were looking at the roster and saying that we're kind of slept on when you look at the rankings, that a lot of people had them in terms of like pre-division stuff. But the Blue Jays have just been simply, I mean, one of the hottest teams in Major League Baseball recently. And other than I think the Astros right now, probably the second hottest team in baseball. They've just been playing unreal. I think the first time ever that they swept the Yankees at home in a 4-game series. And I think they go right in and they sweep the Angels too. So just all around, they've been playing some great baseball. And for Toby and I, who are Rays fans and Yankee fans, not encouraging to see because they've been really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to move on to one last thing on the Blue Jays though? I mean, I kind of said they were not full force to. They don't have Santander or Varsho.
No. And Santander has a thing on OPS under 600. So if he gets kind of going when he gets back, that's huge.
But Bowden Francis too, my breakout pick. That's not something I'm victory lapping over at all. That was a brutal miss, honestly.
It's okay. I think one of mine was Michael Harris. Michael Harris is a top 10 worst.
We all picked Michael Toglia though.
He's been, yeah. We don't talk about that, Toby.
We'll never slander Toglia though either.
No,
on this.
Never. Oh, never, Toby. Never.
I don't really want to get too much into the AL Central because it's all the Detroit Tigers.
The Tigers. Only thing I'll make on it. Cleveland Guardians have lost 10 straight games. Look for them to sell a guy like Emmanuel Clase. So
you said Quan too, maybe before the show. Do you still feel that way, or do you think they're going to keep him?
I don't know. I don't know if they go full sell, but I definitely think. Don't remind me, Toby. I could definitely see them moving a guy like Clase. I mean, they've lost 10 straight games. The offense is just like kind of bleak. They're dealing with some injuries right now. I don't know. I don't see it. I know. Santana is definitely a guy that they're going to move to. The Royals too. Like, look for them to maybe move some pieces. I think this division is sellers outside of the Tigers. I know Byron Buxton.
They all should be.
Yeah, I know Byron Buxton has that like no trade clause and he's under team control until 2027. So maybe he's not as moved as a lot of people are thinking, but I think Clase is going to be a guy a lot of people are looking at because of the contract, and plus Kate Smith is just Kate Smith. So I think it makes sense for the Guardians to move a guy like Clase with that contract, and they're a pitching development factory. They're going to throw guys like Kate Smith in probably 1 or 2 more years. So
I think Willie Castro should get dealt somewhere.
Absolutely. So underrated. Willie Castro is so good.
A contender. He could be like that Tommy Edman type of guy for a contender and win and just so be a sneaky series MVP in the postseason. AL West, the Astros look like the best team in the AL. You said it before, but I completely agree. There were a lot of people, myself included, who thought the Astros were going to take a big step back this year. And, looking at their lineup now and what they're doing, I'm not sure why we thought that.
Have you seen the Cam Smith and Kyle Tucker comparison over the last month and a half? It's the exact same numbers.
Really?
I think Cam Smith has a higher WRC plus.
That's a really fair trade, dude. I don't think you could honestly say that was even lopsided towards one way or another.
No, I mean, they weren't going to extend him, and I think a lot of people had Cam Smith as just one of the best, I guess, rookies coming into the year. And I mean, like I just said, he's been up there with Kyle Tucker production the last month, and they're getting production from almost everyone. Yainer Diaz has really been stepping it up. Hunter Brown is an AL Cy Young. He's going to be an AL Cy Young finalist this year. Josh Hader, I think, like I just said earlier, I think is 24 for 24, 25 for 25 in save opportunities. Brian Abreu's been good. They're getting production from everyone. Isak Paredes has been a godsend for them. Oh my gosh. So Astros have just been a very impressive team to watch, and given a lot of people were really slacking on them to start the year, they've shut, I think, a lot of people up too.
Yeah. They're doing what the Astros do best, man, honestly. Mariners are going to have to work hard. I mean, they're really just right on the cusp of the wild card there, so they don't have to work like ridiculously hard, but they got to play better than the Yankees and the Rays right now. So let's just talk about the AL wild card real quick before we just briefly get into the NL. Right outside of it, 2.5, 3.5 games, Red Sox and Rangers. Those are really the only 2 teams that I feel like have a shot of getting in. I mean, the Angels 4.5 games back. I don't feel too optimistic about that.
I don't.
They could get hot though.
I hope they get hot. I mean, they just got swept by the Blue Jays, but I know they're probably not going to be buyers. It'd be really cool because Joe Adell is surging. Zach Neto's been, we've talked about on the show, he's been a 30 home run 35 plus steal guy over the last 162. They're getting production from Shinuel, Ohapi, all over the board. Yusei Kikuchi's an all-star. They're not going to be buyers, which sucks. Maybe they are because the Angels shock us, but yeah, I agree. That's probably the only team I could see. I see the Twins selling. I wasn't high on the Royals. I will never be high on the Royals or the Reds until they show it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be that guy yet. Guardians, I think, are selling. Orioles, too. But definitely in terms of like Twins, Guardians, and Orioles, there's going to be a lot of players that people are looking to trade from those teams because they have some very valuable assets still. Granted, even though they're 5 plus games back in the wild card standings and not really going to be in it this year.
Yeah, I agree. Got no real. I mean, I completely agree with the Royals and Red take, dude. I mean, I'm so high on both of these teams the last couple of years, and Royals it was fine last year, but Reds, I mean, dude,
I don't buy it. Reds, especially, I don't buy.
Let's talk about the NL real quick, and then let's get out of here, man, because I know we're both exhausted. But Phillies now lead by a game and a half, and then the Marlins are in third. What's happening in the NL East right now?
Yeah, it's just been really weird. In terms of like the wild card stuff, it's crazy. The Cardinals have shocked everyone. They're 6 games above 500. The Padres, the Cardinals, and the Giants are all tied in terms of winning percentage record wise. The Reds, I know I kind of crap on them. They're only 2 games back of the wild card, 2 games above 500. The Diamondbacks, they're probably going to be sellers. But, dude, this team has still been playing pretty solid baseball, considering the Corbin Carroll stuff, the Corbin Burns stuff. The Marlins, dude. The Marlins are a really fun team to watch. And if they are really smart at the deadline, Peter Bendix did a really good job at the deadline last year with the Tampa Bay Rays. Look for him to do the same thing with the Marlins. He could cook and maybe potentially put out a 500 team next year. Atlanta's been so disappointing. We've talked about it multiple times. I was completely wrong about them, especially with the Chris Sale stuff. So I'll take my my loser lap on that one. Pittsburgh Pirates. My opinions on the Pirates and the Nationals and Rockies. I don't think we're talking about too much. No. I don't know if you have anything else too much on the NL. But
no, not really, man.
The fact that the Brewers are still up there in terms of games. The Mets lead the wild card by 3.5 games, and the fact that the Padres, Cardinals, and Giants are tied is remarkable. So,
yeah, no, that NL West is gonna be fireworks, I think, and I think that 7.5 games is gonna get crunched up really quick. So Dodgers better not slump it all here because one of those teams are going to get hot. It's just inevitable at this point.
I guess sale to the Mariners.
Yeah, and I saw that, so I wanted to ask you maybe, well, who do you think's the biggest name getting moved out of the NL that's maybe not Gino Suarez?
Oh, dude, I think if I'm the Braves, I think you probably move Sean Murphy and Chris Sale, only because I think you have a franchise catcher in Drake Baldwin. This guy is producing elite hard hit metrics in terms of just overall production and advanced metrics for Drake Baldwin. Chris Sale, I think, is going to be 37 next year. I would just move him just because he's only getting older. The Braves have just been so disappointing this year in terms of just runners in scoring position, overall offensive production. And they still have some dudes in the rotation and guys in the system that are going to be really good. I know Didier Fuentes hasn't been the best this year, but he's still an arm that
he's like 20 years old still.
Yeah, a lot of people are still high on. Granted, he's been pretty poorly in the majors so far, but I think you move Chris Sale, you get value out of him. I mean, the package for Chris Sale is probably going to be pretty big, so it definitely helps your franchise over the next couple of years because the Braves still, in terms of the young core, have a pretty solid team.
And healthy or not, someone will still trade for Chris Sale, like in the package.
Yeah, Sale's on the IL, but I still think they're probably going to move Sale.
And I don't think that changes the package at all, like if he's healthy or not.
No, not at all. I mean, Chris Sale, granted the injuries, and a lot of it, granted, I will say, is not arm injury related stuff. It's like rib, hand. It's like freak stuff. But yeah, I know we don't really want to get too much into it. The last topic we'll kind of round out here for like 2 minutes and we'll let you guys go as well. The Nationals are currently 37-53, last place in the NL East, and just fired Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez. Only thing I'll say on it, Nationals had the number 1 overall draft pick this year. The fact that they fired their manager and GM around this time is simply crazy. I completely agree with it, only because this team had in my opinion, a lot higher expectations coming into the year. And just the last several years, other than like the World Series stuff, they've just been scuffling. And it's also weird too because there's not, at least in my opinion, I know probably yours too, there's not a certified or solidified number one pick right now. It's all
No,
over
not
the
at
board.
all. No, so it makes me think that they either know exactly who they're going to take and they know they don't need their GM anymore to make that decision, or they have no clue at all. So they're like, we're just going to bring in a totally new guy and hope that he can make the right choice there, which kind of sucks because before he made good choices. Like, honestly, like there, besides the Elijah Green pick, I don't really think there's been a pick that's blown up in
God,
their
Elijah
face.
Green.
Yeah. Sorry.
We're gonna end the show on this. I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Toby. Who is the first name in the 2025 MLB draft?
Who's getting selected first?
Who's gonna be the first name?
I think it's Cade Anderson, man, from LSU. I think, and we'll talk about this a lot more as the week progresses, but it's going back to the last couple of drafts. College arms have risen so quick, and to me, at least, the Nationals have a young core that's starting to like bud in the big leagues right now. You need a guy to plug and play pretty soon. That's Cade Anderson. He's going to fly through the minor league system if spending any time there. You saw the type of competitor he is in Omaha. I don't think there's a reason to pass up that type of guy. You want to go the prep upside in a guy like Jackson Holliday, or even Seth Hernandez. I can understand that, but I don't see why you pass up the best college arm in the class when those are just so rare to come by. And you saw what they could turn into. Paul Skeens is one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in the NL already. So get yourself a guy that can go in there and compete from day one, pretty much. I don't understand what the downside is in that. I think it fits their scheme too well.
I think it's a great shot too. We saw it with Hagen Smith. We saw it with Chase Burns. A lot of these teams are probably going to be, drafting these high upside arms that are going to be MLB ready. And I know the Angels have been doing it a lot with their position players, but in terms of pitching, it's very valuable when you can see some of these stuff metrics, their overall performance, and some of these high risers that are going to be at the MLB level very soon.
And I will just say one more thing on the Nationals. I mean, in terms of just pure fit, they don't need another like infielder because CJ Abrams looks like your guy for the long term at shortstop. So why make him unhappy and try to develop someone to replace him? I don't think you waste your number one pick on a second baseman. I don't care what his power upside is, or the number one pick was a second baseman last year, but I don't think you're going to stick Ethan Holiday there. I know Jackson Holiday is there. Right. But I don't think you want to waste that one overall pick on a guy like Ethan Holiday. Just put him at second base. You also have guys like Seaver King, Yo-Yo Morales in your farm, Luke Dickerson as well. Those are all infielders that you could have at the major league level, and then Brady House as well at third. So where are you going to stick a guy like Ethan Holiday in your core right now? It doesn't really make sense to me. You could take Cade Anderson, and then you could have a future rotation of Jarlin Susana, Travis Sikora, Mackenzie Gore, Cade Anderson, and then
oh my god,
imagine that.
Yeah, you got Jarlin Susana going out there as your number 3 starter, pumping 103, 104 on the mound. Yeah,
even if 2 of those guys don't end up panning out, that's still a really solid major league rotation. And
for any of you, before we wrap it up, don't know who Cade Anderson is, his main comp right now is probably Max Fried. That's probably his main comp. So this is a very high upside pitcher. And to a lot of these MLB scouts and organizations, he did it on the biggest level he possibly could have in the College World Series.
He's bounced back from bad starts too. I think that's worth noting is that you can look at any bad start from a college guy and say, oh, well, there was his bad start. He looked awful then. Well, he turned around the next start and pitches really well. This is not a guy who's going to go out there and just give you straight bad starts. He's going to learn from mistakes. He's going to be a grinder. This is the type of brand that LSU puts out with their pitchers. It's just dogs. That's who they put out. So that's all I got on Cade Anderson, man. I know that was a little bit of a rant too, but I like that we kind of touched on some draft stuff here.
Yeah, I like that shit. That was good.
Wait, apparently Rizzo and Boris are super close, and that might fuck up their pick. He represents Holiday and Cade.
Honestly, I didn't think too much of the Ethan Holiday stuff with the minor league depth that they have in terms of the infielders, so I kind of like that shout. I can't wait for that draft show, dude. The draft show is going to be so fun that we'll do, like probably a few hours. But yeah, and Katie, I didn't even know that either. I didn't know that he represented Holiday and Cade. But okay, so let's say if Ethan Holiday isn't the first overall pick, do you think he slides farther than 2?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
You think so?
Yeah, he could slide. He could honestly slide to 5. Like that's like we saw Jack Caglione slide to 6 last year. Like I had Cags at my
Can't
2.
happen again.
I had Cags at my 2. He went
That's why you're a
6.
ball knower. That's why you're a ball knower.
Well, I mean,
I cannot wait for the draft show. That's going to be incredible to watch.
I got to get another mock out or something. Like I'm working on one with shout out Overdue Sports, Will Mosa and a couple of the other guys, Nate Rasmussen and the Up West Sports podcast. Those guys had me on talking about the draft a few nights ago. It was a lot of fun. So if you didn't see that, go take a listen to that. But we're gonna have so much draft content, me and Ethan, and I can't wait. We are gonna have, I think, this week. I'm really hoping this week. I'm gonna try and get it out at some point. This is news to Ethan as well. We're gonna have an MLB draft prospect on here at some point this week. That is in the works. It's been a long time coming, so I'm happy that we could finally get someone who tore it up in the college game this year and is going to hear his name called at some point in this draft. So I'm excited for that. Ethan, anything else before we get out of here?
Toby, let's go, baby. Let's go, KDB. The fact that we're on here on a random Sunday, there's I think over 700 people in here, which is crazy.
There is.
Thank you guys for the support on here, and a lot of you guys that supported the Joe Adele thread on Inside the Diamond. That was absolutely phenomenal. So thank you guys for that. But still more content stuff. And I mean, if you're not following the actual Inside the Diamond account, it's in both of our bios. Give it a follow. But a great episode. I think we touched on a lot of stuff. I can't wait for the draft stuff. That's going to be great. Expect a multi-hour long stream on
yeah, I'm going to look this up right now because July 14th, the MLB draft starts. Hang on. It starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. So we will be live at either like 5 or 5:30 probably to or 5:45 to like just pre talk about some of the draft, and then we're gonna watch the entire first round on stream. Hopefully, if nothing goes wrong, that'll be by far our longest stream. But Ethan, I think that it's gonna be probably the best one we do all year. Maybe.
Yeah, hopefully
probably not the best one we do all year, but it's gonna be up there for sure. That's gonna be the big one.
Yeah. Hopefully one of the MLB accounts is actually showing it so we can show you guys on Twitter, because we don't want to get in trouble for showing stuff that's obviously on TV and stuff, but that would be huge. So if MLB is able to post it, we'll probably have the draft.
Good. We'll have the order up and we'll keep
right in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, I'll make a whole new background for it, and then we'll make sure that this looks good and that it looks professional for everybody, because I'm excited to get that done. Arguably my favorite day of the entire baseball season. So.
It's great.
This is day, man.
I would say it's bigger. I mean, this is a day where teams are going to select potentially their next Paul Skeens or Tarek Scoopball or their Chase Burns, any of these top guys, your next Mike Trout. Like this is a very exciting time for baseball fans, and especially for teams that are very poorly, like the Nationals, that have a farm system where they're going to be able to rebuild and retool and potentially put it together a really good team in the next 2 to 3 years. Them getting the first overall pick, I would be so happy to be a Nationals fan on that date.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't go wrong. I mean, there's no bad player you could take there at number 1 overall. There's such a deep class this year, and I can't wait to see who they go with. I will say one more thing: if you are not an MLB draft watcher at all or don't care about the draft, I don't disagree with you in entirely, because at the end of the day, a lot of these kids don't see the light in the major leagues for a long time, if they even do. Some of these guys that are picked in the top 10, you might see in the league this year. Like that's very high expectations for a lot of these guys, but there are college bats and college arms who I think will fly through the minor league systems, and I'm not the only one who thinks that. So
no,
there's going to be a lot to like, and we are going to be talking about a lot of prospects on July 14th. So I cannot wait. It's also my dad's birthday too, but
shout out Mr. Schulman, man. Shout him out.
Yeah, I have to, man. I have to. But yeah, it'll be his birthday. We'll be on live doing a draft show. So
maybe a guest appearance.
Probably not. I don't think that's what he's gonna want to spend his birthday doing. But just had to shout him out there. But
this was awesome.
Yeah,
great episode. This was awesome. Over 700 people in here. Thank you guys for the continuous support. And probably expect another live tomorrow, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I think we'll probably end up going live tomorrow. Glad we got the live out today. Again, like Ethan said, thank you to everybody who's watching and supporting. If you're watching the replay and you didn't get a chance to watch live, thank you so much for at least tuning in after the fact. And let us know if you have any other all-star snubs or anything. We love at least just engaging with you guys and looking at what you guys have to comment or say to us. That's the most fun part about this for all of us. So like Ethan said, we'll probably see you guys tomorrow. And after that, I mean, we'll see you guys whenever we see you. But expect a lot of content this week. I got a lot planned leading up to the draft, and I know Ethan's going to want to push out a lot of stuff too. So have a good night, everybody. We'll see you guys tomorrow night, I think. Yeah.
Tomorrow night.